With kick technique, body posture and placement is very important. To help your dancers achieve this, you can do this posture exercise. We're going to start by having Megan raise her shoulders up towards her ears and rotating her shoulders back down. You want to think of having them pinch their shoulder blades together so you feel the tension here. From this point, keeping your shoulders where they are, you want to place your right hand on top of your chest and your left hand on your lower abs. Their focus is going to go down, looking at their hands, and they're going to think of taking their right hand and putting it in line with their left hand, so there will be a slight lean forward. Also at this point, you want to think of pulling up in the lower abs, so there's a tuck of the pelvis, closing in that rib cage. Have them release their hands down, take their focus front by keeping that posture, and this should be how they are when they're in their kick line. When it comes to working on kick execution with your dancers, you want to focus on, first, straight kicks to the front, making sure that they're kicking within their center line, focusing mostly on kicking towards their nose. You can start by having them kick eye high, which is going to help in the precision of the team, and then progress forward. I'm going to have Megan just do 4 regular kicks without jumping to show where the placement of the foot should be within the center line. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Good. So another thing that we can think of when we're doing these kicks, is, if I'll have you turn around, is when your arms are out to the side, you want to make sure that the dancers are pressing down like when we did our posture and really using the lat muscle right here to keep the arms in place. Also avoiding any arms going above shoulder level, and when they're in a hooked up position, this will be a little bit easier because they'll have the person next to them. So just remembering to press down on the shoulder. Also, in those kicks, you want to think of having them move their leg from their hamstring and their lower abs. An exercise that you can do with the dancers to help on the precision of the level of their kicks, as well as the snapping down of their legs, is having them kick to the eye-high level. That's going to be their eye-high. So if you have shorter girls that are on the end and taller girls that are in the middle, their leg level is going to be different. We're going to start with eye-high kicks, doing jump kicks straight to the front. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. So this is going to be harder for your flexible girls because they're just going to want to get their leg up as high as they can, but they're going to have to use their hamstrings to snap their leg back down. Once your team has perfected their eye-high kicks, they can move on to kicks heel to eye, and then all the way up to as high as they can go. So we'll start off with 4 heel to eye kicks, and then after that we'll go into 4 very high kicks. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the way up, go higher. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Here's a side view of the level of the kick so you can see the difference in each eye-high level, heel to eye level, and then the high level. 5, 6, 7, 8. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Heel to eye. 6, 7, 8 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to show you some things that you can work on to avoid common things that happen with your dancers when they're kicking. I'm going to have Megan do an 8 count of incorrect kicks, and we'll touch on what to avoid after that. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. So the first thing I want to touch on is the level of her arms, and once they're in a hooked up position, this will come into play. You want to relax your shoulders down using the lat muscles and squeezing those shoulder blades nice and tight so the dancer is in charge of their own body. You're not relying on the person next to you. Another thing to avoid is lifting of the hip when the leg goes up. So if you're lifting that hip, you're not creating a pretty line. It's crossing over your center line. The dancers need to think of rotating that hip back and down and sitting into that position. Another thing that's going to help with that is really using your lower abs to pull up that leg as well as your hamstring. Another thing to avoid is sickled feet. They cut off the line, they don't look pretty, and I'm sure no one likes to see them. So I'm going to have Megan turn around, or turn to the side. She's going to go into a tendu position. We want to really focus on keeping this line nice and long from the hip all the way down to the toe. When we say point your toes, dancers automatically just think of pointing their toes. They don't think of stretching through their ankle. So instead of saying point your toes, I want you to say point your ankle or stretch your ankle. So you can see the difference of her pointing through her ankle as opposed to pointing through her toe and scrunching her feet. One other thing to work on with the kicks is kicking in parallel. A lot of the dancers will want to kick turned out, and what that's going to do is it's going to show their flexed feet if they are flexing their feet, as well as cutting off the line when the leg is turned out. So make sure that the girls are kicking in parallel, turn their feet to a parallel first position, have them tendu out, turned out, and then really have them focus on rotating their leg in through their thigh muscle and their hip, creating that long straight line with their knee facing up towards the ceiling, leading through the toe as the kick goes up and keeping the back leg straight behind the knee. The next thing I would like to touch on is the connection between the dancers when they're in the kick line. The first connection we're going to talk about is the half-yard connection. The dancers in a half-yard connection are going to hook up behind the back for this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. So you'll notice that the right hand is going to be on the upper back of the person next to you, and the left hand is going to be on the lower back of the person next to you. If you have dancers on the end, they'll have their hand on the hip. It's up to you as a coach if you like their thumb forward, or if you like their fingertips forward, or if you like their hand all the way behind their back. Whatever you decide, just make sure that the two ends are doing the exact same thing. With this, you also want to make sure that the dancers aren't putting any pressure on the person next to them, but they're lightly feeling the fabric of the dancer that is next to them. The next connection that we're going to talk about is the full yard connection. This is where the dancers keep their arms straight. The right hand is going to go on top of the left. 5, 6, 7, 8, hook 1. So you see here with the left hand, it's just going to be slightly behind the person next to them as the right hand rests slightly on top of the person. Also, in this position, you want to make sure that as the dancers are kicking, they're not pressing down on the person next to them, but again, they're in charge of their own body when they're doing their kicks. Here's some strengthening exercises that you can do with the dancers to help with their kick technique. Lying on the floor, you're going to have them do scissor kicks. This is going to help with their core strength. Here's the correct way to perform these scissor kicks. 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull up 1, 3, 5, 7, 8. So the incorrect way is going to be letting your legs open past and outside of your center line. 6, 7, 8. Go 1, 3, 5, 7. So you can see the difference of them having their legs squeezed nice and tight in their center line as opposed to open in second, kicking out towards their shoulders. The second exercise that you can do to work on their core with their kicks are called V-ups. 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull up 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another exercise you can have the dancers do is called bottoms up. This is going to help fire up their hamstrings so that they're warm to activate the high kick and the snap down when executing the kick. This is good to do before kicking as opposed to static stretching. When you're static stretching, you're stretching the muscle and injuring it even more so that there's not enough strength to snap that leg down. So before kicking and before performing, you want to do active stretching, and afterwards you want to do static stretching. So bottoms up, we're going to be in a parallel second position. Hands are going to be clasped. You're going to place your forearms on top of your quads, bending your legs. From here, you're going to resist from your quads to your forearms, straightening the legs, but not hyperextending in the knees. You can do this about 12 to 10 times with the dancers. Go ahead and straighten up, and then bend back down. Straighten up, bend back down. 5, 6, 7, 8, and done.